Media, our new media partners here who have been hosting us all weekend long. Thank you for joining us on the show today. Brought to you by Emerging Investigations at emerginginv.com and also by the Jeeves Law Group. Go to jeeveslawgroup.com for more information there. I am in Dallas after last night's huge 19-3 win by the Buccaneers in the season opener on Sunday Night Football. My man Nick Geddes back in our Tampa studios. Good morning to you, Nick. How are you?
I'm great. It is our first victory Monday of the season, so there's always a reason to be excited for that. The Bucs get a huge win over Sunday night. I know that you were obviously in the building. It looks like you had a great time in Dallas, and we're definitely going to jump into that from the start. So go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to bore you all with all the accoutrement, but we'll get to some of those great stories later on because I want to get right to the meat of this win last night by the Buccaneers. By the way, Brady Tinker is going to join us here. I've had him on for our pregame show. He is a Dallas Cowboys insider. Boy, the Cowboys season unraveled last night at the hand of the Buccaneers, so we'll spend a little bit of time on Dallas as well. But we'll be mostly Bucs here talking about the implications of last night's game, and we'll get to the news right away. The bad news, and that's Chris Godwin's injury. We said all week long there's no reason for him to play. I think that was a miscalculation by the Buccaneers. I don't think Chris Godwin should have played last night. The Bucs had plenty to win that game without him. We'll get into that discussion a little bit later. Donovan Smith injures an elbow, did not come back. It's a good thing it's not his legs. It's not a knee. It's not an ankle. If it's the only thing that's going to keep him out significant time is a dislocated elbow, and I didn't see that type of injury. So obviously we're speculating here. We'll know more as the day goes on in MRI, but that could be an issue as well moving forward. Dak Prescott breaks his hand. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, and that, of course, is consuming the city of Dallas here this morning, as well as how poorly they played last night. So we got a great show for you. Sit back. We're going to dissect this 10 ways to Sunday. I also got a chance to ask some questions of Todd Bowles and of Tom Brady last night. And Nick, I think I stumped the GOAT last night. It was my first interaction, my first eye to eye with Brady, because with all the Zooms that have been going on and in my schedule, because they do most of their stuff when we're on the air. It's my first time going eye to eye with him, sitting in the front row. I think I stumped him. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, listen,
I stumped the GOAT.
I think you did stump the GOAT. You stumped the GOAT. It was like 1:30 in the morning, by the way, when I was watching that presser. And I was like, I guess I'll listen to Boring Tom at 1:30 in the morning. I couldn't sleep.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, my eyes are flickering and I hear your voice, believe it or not. I hear your voice. Second question in the room, I think, right?
Yeah.
You were in the front row. Of course you were.
First question for Bowles. Second question for Tommy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, here we go. And I stood up and I listened to your question and I saw Brady go, and then just, what was it, like 5-6 seconds of silence?
It was a pregnant pause. I was a little concerned. Because he was eyeballing me. He was like, I was getting the Brady eyes, bro. I was like, what? But it was not in a bad way. I think he was really contemplating what he was thinking about. And this is a topic for discussion today. As I said in my question, Brady only threw the ball 27 times. They ran it 33. I was trying to go back last year and look at all the different box scores. I don't think there was one game last year where they ran the ball more than they threw it. I don't even think it's close.
Where that Brady got less than 30 attempts. Did that happen last year?
I doubt it.
He led the league last year with like 700 something attempts.
741 attempts. He led the league last year, and I think this is the type of complimentary football that is going to serve him well this year. And I'm not sure. Of course, he's on board with it, but I think you'll hear in his answer that there's a little bit of, I don't know. Because there were times in the game when they ran Fournette, I think, 3 times in a row, and on 3rd and 1, he didn't get it. And you know how Brady's like, come on, 3rd and 1, let me throw the damn ball. I'll get this done. I also asked him at the end of the press conference, and we'll play the full press conference, whether he checked to the fade to Mike Evans, because we're sitting here going, man, the red zone is just a disaster. Can we just do one fade to Mike Evans at some point here? And they finally did. And I asked him, was that a check or did that come in? He didn't want to answer. He didn't want to answer because I don't think he wanted to make Leftwich look bad. But if Brady's checking the plays, nobody's saying that makes Leftwich look bad. That's what you want, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's typical Brady. He ain't going to tell you anything, but he gave you a nice little chuckle there. It was all in good fun. And then he had his trademark, okay, I'm getting out of here. See y'all. So congratulations on that. You were the question that ran him away. So there you go.
Until our German guy got the last question.
The German guy.
He wanted to invade. He would definitely wanted to engage the Germany guy that flew all the way over. And he's like, I have some roots in Germany. He's like, oh, you have your roots in Germany? What's your roots in Germany? And we're like, yeah, what are your roots in Germany? Like, I'm sure everybody wants to know. So anyway, let's get to that soundbite, the question and the answer from Brady, because I think it speaks to what's going on with this team and how this is going to be a new team under Todd Bowles. I don't think there's any question about that. This is a new philosophy, and frankly, I think it's a better one. So here's Tom Brady.
Threw it 27 times today, a lot more balance. Is that more of a Todd Bowles influence or just what they gave you tonight?
Not sure. Yeah, I mean, look, I think we'd love to throw the ball and less and control the game and run the ball and play great defense and get turnovers and don't turn it over and score in the red area. I think, we did a decent job, moving the ball. We just couldn't quite get it in the end zone. And, I think there's a lot of things to clean up. Communication stuff, we got to be on the same page, which we were in some areas, but other areas we really weren't. So long way to go.
All righty then. So it gives me kind of a feeling that the red area that maybe he wanted to throw the football a little bit more, although they didn't have great success. Micah Parsons got a couple of sacks, I think, in the red area, if I'm not mistaken. He didn't have a whole lot of time to read the field down there.
Damn if that dude, by the way, ain't as advertised.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Parsons.
Yeah, he can play. But I think I'm not going to say it's an issue, but I think that answer is interesting, is it not?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, Tom wants to throw the ball, and there was a moment in the first quarter when the Bucs they had it. I'm trying to remember. It was one of those drives where they stalled out, and they took the ball out of Brady's hands on 3 consecutive plays. 3 consecutive plays.
Exactly.
Listen, I'm not. I understand you want to run the ball. I understand you want to have balance, but that game last night frustrated me in many ways because it felt like they were like kind of running for running's sake at some times. Where
yes,
to me, you need to. Who's the best player on the field? It's Tom Brady, right?
Tom Brady. Yeah.
You got all these weapons out
Leonard
there.
Fournette might have been the best player in the field last night.
But you have all these weapons out there. Mike Evans was having his way. Julio was having his way. Guys were open all night. I think in some of those scenarios where they were running it on those short second downs or those short third downs, I would have liked to see passes there. I'm not in favor of ever taking the ball out of the quarterback's hands, especially when it's Tom Brady, for 3 plays in a row. But again, Todd said after the game, that's just kind of what they showed them, and they went with it, and it worked, by the way.
Yeah, you get a 16-point win in the NFL. That's a dominating win. That's complimentary football. It's 19-3. It's not the flashy, 40 to 28 win, and it's they didn't light up the scoreboard, but they moved the football, I thought, really well. Let's bring Brady Tinker in now, DFW Sports, longtime Cowboys insider, fantasy football expert, betting expert. Brady, let's check your mic. Are you there? Are you there?
You
okay,
got me?
Beautiful. I got you. Yeah, beautiful. We need to get some light on that gorgeous face of yours, that salad you got, my man. You got a nice head of hair there, brother. So we'd love to see it. Tell me, first of all, did you hear the Brady quote right there? Did you hear that interaction?
I did. And this is so much fun. I hope we get to do this for years to come.
Yes.
To be able to listen to your point of view and the Tampa point of view and the Tampa media and the fans' point of view. Because I was born and raised in Kansas City, so I'm not living and dying with this Cowboys team. Objectively, as I watched the game, almost from the beginning, the Cowboys had no chance. And so when you guys are talking about, well, Tom only threw it, less than 30 times, terrible in the red zone, et cetera, I think he and Todd Bowles managed that game the way it could be managed. Their defense wasn't going to give up any points. No one was going to get behind them. The only receiver he can really throw the ball to with any comfort is a guy who runs 8-yard routes, and that's his tight end in Dalton Schultz. CeeDee Lamb runs drifty Dez Bryant routes. He did nothing during that game to help his quarterback at all. 11 balls thrown his way. He caught 2. He had disinterested body language the entire game, as if this shit just isn't good enough for me right now, so call me when we get better, rather than being the guy, who's going to help his team get better. So I thought Tampa controlled that game from the beginning. They were the much more physical team, both offensively and defensively. And whatever deficiencies that Tom pointed to, he got tricked on a interception that always surprises you when that happens, but it happens. But for the most part, that game was never in doubt. So, if I'm Tampa, I'm looking at Green Bay saying, These guys got nothing on the offensive side of the football.
Right.
San Francisco maybe doesn't have their quarterback of the future, so they're going to have to go back to someone different. New Orleans, I thought, might be the sneaky team. I watched all that game. They look like crap. They were lucky to win at the end, and Jameis still looks like Jameis, where it's going to be a crapshoot one week versus the next. So if I'm Tampa fans, when I wake up this morning, I'm like, a routine 16-point win on the road against a team that last year stood up and really gave us problems. And we've got all this room for growth in a giant win. I'm thrilled if I'm Tampa.
Tell you what, that is a fantastic analysis of what happened and bringing in, encompassing everything that we saw in the NFC. And what the only thing you forgot there was the Rams, and they're terrible. They their offensive line looks like it's in shambles.
Yep.
Matthew Stafford's arm, I saw a guy who's struggling with velocity, and there's something going on with his arm. Would you agree?
I totally agree. He looked like a junior high school quarterback who made up his mind he was throwing the ball to his best friend every time because he didn't trust anything else, including himself.
Right.
Including himself. It looked like they had skipped training camp and they just really come to play this first game and get their rings. They looked awful, and there are quiet murmurs that the Rams are out trying to make some sort of quick move to get a quarterback, and I don't know who that would be. And now the Cowboys are in that same position.
Yeah.
And local media this morning that I did some of before I came on, well, they're not even going to make a move. They'll let this redheaded backup just run things.
That's crazy.
And
That's
what?
crazy.
And start 1-6 and get an early draft pick. Jerry Jones is 150 years old. That cannot be what you're going to do after week one of the NFL. Now, I'm not sure what the answer is because San Francisco is not trading Jimmy Garoppolo after watching their quarterback of the future. Now, granted, it was raining, et cetera, et cetera. We watched that game together. The San Francisco quarterback and the Bears quarterback both look like they got about 3 years of seeding worth to go. It takes them forever to throw the ball. If someone's not open, the ball's not out. Nothing's on time. Neither one of those quarterbacks look like really good professional quarterbacks. So Garoppolo's not on the trade block anymore because San Francisco believes they're a playoff team.
And I want to get back to something you said about the Buccaneers game plan here. And I completely agree with you here. And this, I think, is the kind of the Todd Bowles influence that may be a little bit different than, say, Bruce Arians. Yeah. Is that at no point, if the Bucs ran the football, were they going to lose that game? If you throw the ball 40 times, even with Tom Brady, okay, Godwin is out. Okay, you don't have a real Cam Brate's dropping balls. So it wasn't like the offensive passing game was so crisp that you could just rip them apart. And I think Bowles said, look, they're not going to score. They're not going to score. The only way we lose this game is if Brady throws 3 picks, a couple of tip balls here and there that end up in the wrong hands, a pick 6. That's the only way they were going to lose. So I think that complimentary football was great. And, I love my man Bruce Arians, but I don't know if he manages that game the same way. So I'm here for Todd Bowles. I love it.
I'm with you, and Tom is with him too. Whether you stump Tom or not, I don't think Tom was mad about how the game went, other than he didn't think he was very good. He certainly has a higher level of expectation for him and that team in the red zone. But on the other hand, to be honest with you, that Dallas defense is probably a top 10 defense and maybe even a top 5 defense. So you overwhelmed them physically, I thought, especially with your offensive line. I was very impressed with Tampa's offensive line. I was very impressed with all the times you guys pulled, centers pulling, right, tackles pulling, and it was like a bunch of bulldozers running out there. And what's happened with the Cowboys too is Diggs, who made the Pro Bowl and who had 11 interceptions, is a black hole on that side. So if Tampa could get a body on a body and Diggs had to come up and support and make a tackle, it was a free 10 yards. It was a free 12 yards. And I thought Tampa identified every weakness that the Cowboys had. I really did. I thought the heart rate for the organization, the way the thing was run from a coaching perspective, was nice and relaxed. We're fine. This is our big old home today. This quarterback knows what to do. He will hit the proper receiver that's open in a one-on-one situation. And that big old running back looks really comfortable and happy. And I don't know what's going on with him. We've seen him be good before. But, I mean, he looks motivated. He looks like he thinks he's a bulldozer, and he ran over or knocked the Cowboys' best defensive player on his ass yesterday. Now, granted, Michael Parsons was a little bit off balance. He didn't see it coming. It was sort of like a sucker punch. But still, if I'm your team, I'm watching that in film over and over again. Look at my running back. He's running over everybody. My offensive line's running over everybody. And by the way, my running back kicked the ass of the best defensive player on their team. it's context is not correct. That's not really what happened, but still,
Right.
I absolutely love it. I love it.
It's on the highlight tape. I can tell you that.
For
You know,
the rest of the season.
Yeah, I tell you what, JP. I mean, you know that watching him all the last couple years, and I've been kind of critical, I guess, of Leonard Fournette. I thought that I have been a little critical, but last night I've never seen him run like that.
He was
As
running
physical
hard.
as I know he had the whole stint, the whole Super Bowl Lenny and the whole whatever Lombardi Lenny, that whole run. But outside of that run, I never was convinced that he was worth the paycheck the Bucs gave him in the offseason. I thought that was typical Brady being like, hey, I want him, so you're going to have to pay him.
Right.
And give credit to him. Last night, he was the best player on the field, like you mentioned. I've never seen him run that hard. Last year, a lot of times, he kind of get happy feet and kind of do this stepping around game. He hit all the holes last night. He put the shoulder down. He put his head down. He's falling forward. He's doing all the things you want to see from a running back. So I've just never seen him like that. I really haven't.
And I know you guys have been happy with Rachaad White in the preseason. Now, he had 8 touches and they weren't especially productive, but I still like the body. I like the body language out of him too, though. Like if I have to get Rachaad White in a little bit more because Leonard's not going to be able to handle, 23 touches a game, then I think I feel okay about that too. And what's the other guy's name? Vaughn or whatever that was inactive, probably pretty motivated as well. So I think your running game and the depth. What I'm most impressed about with you guys is most of the world other than Tampa doesn't know you lost 2 of your best offensive linemen. And then you had 2 replacements who were a little bit iffy until about a week ago. And you came in and you ran over what I know is a deep, pretty darn good Dallas defense. I mean, from Tampa's perspective, I think you guys should be thrilled.
I agree with you there. And I think this and when you start taking this next level, which is, okay, the rest of the season, Brady, and you know this, that now the tape is out there. So if you're looking at the Bucs now, you're like, oh, shit, we got to stop this run game. And look at this varied run game. And I thought this was something that I've kind of been complaining about. The Bucs, they rarely before have run jet sweeps. I think they ran 3 of them last night. They had a couple of short passes to Godwin's was basically a running play. Yep. Getting these speedy receivers on the outside, I thought, as you mentioned, the pulling guards, the pulling centers, very athletic offensive line, working the perimeter to great success. So if you're a defensive coordinator, you're like, all right, we got to load up for this, or they're just going to run the ball on us all day. Okay, when you load up for that, what are you doing? You're dropping a safety down. You're taking away something that Tom Brady will smoke you for. So now with this balance, now you can start dictating each and every day, what's this defense going to do? What are they going to give you? Give us this. We're going to beat you this way. I thought last year there were times where they needed to run the football, where teams were playing shell and playing soft. They could not do it. And that's one of the reasons the Rams beat them. I think it's one of the reasons the Saints beat them. The games that they lost, they could not run the football because they were all in on the pass game. And I think this sends a message to the entire league. These guys are balanced now, and they got Brady at quarterback. Julio Jones looks completely rejuvenated. If Godwin can come back, I mean, my God. And by the way, I'm just going to say it. You got red zone problems. There's one great answer to it, and he still lives in Tampa Bay, and they just cleared $6 million in cap money. So I think the first call that Tom made after the game was not to Giselle. Maybe it was. I think it was to Gronk and like, my boy, we need you in the red zone. You're my security blanket. They get that guy back, and this defense, which we haven't really dug into yet, wow.
Yeah, I thought it seemed purposeful the way that they used Julio as well. I was surprised to see Julio run the ball twice, and that may have been somewhat for him. We haven't seen true Julio physically in probably a couple of years, and guys tend to get motivated when they play with great players. So Julio and Tom. And now if you looked, I mean, who played well yesterday in the NFL? Who played well? Kansas City, I would say, is first off. Yeah. But Philadelphia won, but they gave up 35 points to Detroit. Staying in the NFC, who played well? San Francisco played such a conservative game that they conservatively lost their football game in a rainstorm when they should have been throwing the ball a little bit over the top to push the answers, because the Bears kept creeping towards the line of scrimmage, just like Tampa did yesterday. You guys just kept coming towards the line of scrimmage and coming. What's going to happen? What's the worst that's going to happen? Unless we have a totally blown coverage, no one's going 50 yards behind us. So you just kept coming towards the line of scrimmage and putting the pressure on Prescott. I will say, Dak Prescott was not very good yesterday pre-injury. He looks like there's maybe still a lower leg injury, whether it's the ankle that we heard about before the game a couple of days ago, whether it's the calf injury is back. No one will tell us the truth. But the interception where he tried to just flip it with his arm like Rodgers may or Mahomes can't, and he's 10 yards short on a pass into 3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, look like that's a guy who's not right. So he's unlucky hitting, I think, Shaq Barrett both times with his thumb and ending up having thumb surgery. But that was not a very scary Dallas team that you guys were going up against yesterday. I thought Zeke looked pretty good, actually. That was one of the things I was impressed with. I think he had over 5 yards of carry. I thought the Cowboys probably should have made an effort to run the ball more because it was somewhat effective. But the offensive coordinator here in Dallas is in real trouble. Everybody thinks Mike McCarthy's in trouble. The first guy to go is the offensive coordinator. McCarthy can go back to calling plays, which he really prefers to do anyway. And there are some things here in Dallas that are going to have to happen. I would think the Cowboys have to pick up the phone and call Cam Newton, because I don't think you can just rely on a dead-on backup, barely quarterback, and you're going to tank the season after week 1 because Dak's out 8 weeks. But you guys took advantage of a team that did not look ready. And, I go to Cowboys training camp. Training camps aren't the same. You and I know that, right? There essentially is no tackling, no hitting. Oxnard, California for the Cowboys is 68 to 75 degrees every day.
It's a country
club. Not hot. It is a country club. This thing right down the road that you and I have been to at the Star of the practice facility is a country club. Yeah. The place where they bring other people's fans at AT&T Stadium and they fill the place is a country club. And the physicality of this team, I thought, was lacking yesterday. They miss Randy Gregory. They miss Lael Collins. They are sitting here at $17 million under the salary cap, and you say, why?
You got a bad general manager. You got a really bad general manager.
Well, because
no reason. I mean, and you said something very interesting that the Cowboys did at the end of the game last night that they've never done before. Tell the audience.
Yeah, the end of the game, what happens is in this big AT&T Stadium is to give the fans more Cowboys, more marketing. They leave and enter the field through the Miller Lite gold area where you can go and get a beer, and literally you can get within touching distance of the players as they enter the field, all charged up. It's a cool thing, right?
Right.
And as they come off, you can high five them a little bit or say something to them if you want. They did not go past the fans. They did not then come parade past us in the media as we wait outside the locker room with our cameras and with our microphones. They didn't do it. They went a back door into the locker room.
Wow.
It's week 1. It's week 1, and no one really wants to answer any hard questions. And now your quarterback is gone. And the truth is your quarterback didn't look ready. Your offensive coordinator didn't look ready. And this team didn't look like it had any plan for a really good Tampa Bay defense, especially knowing that Tom Brady's the quarterback on the other team. He's not going to F this up. You were going to have to take some shots down the field. Well, Gallup's out. Who are we going to throw it to? I don't know. I don't know. But Jalen Tolbert's fast, and you made him inactive. I found that very interesting. Very surprising. And again, what we saw from Jalen Tolbert a little bit in the preseason, he has really good hips. He gets his foot in the ground. He can get separation. He does everything that the eyeball test says, that's an NFL wide receiver. But he caught 2 touchdowns in the preseason where he stepped out of bounds in the end zone for no particular reason. Didn't have his feet, didn't kick the feet, didn't get, he played at a really, at a small school. And so
details.
I guess they deem he's not ready. But we all knew he played at a small school when we drafted him. We all knew Cooper wasn't here anymore and that Gallup was going to be out and that kid needed to be ready. And he's not ready. So much so that Noah Brown and Simi Fehako and guys that you've never heard of and that Cowboys fans have never heard of were active and in this game. And then top it all off with CeeDee Lamb, who looked completely disinterested. There's a lot of reflecting that needs to go on here and tough decisions that need to get made in week 1 for the Cowboys. But your team did everything right, I thought. Everything right. Yes, you can get better in the red zone. Yes, whatever. And maybe Godwin shouldn't have played, and hopefully that's not a 4-week loss for Tampa. But I think you have a good football team. And when I look at the NFC, I'm like, that's the best team.
It's a great point. After week 1, you don't want to overreact, but I think all the things that we saw around the NFL, and we're going to get to a little bit more detail on these games. Also, we're going to dig into the Bucs defense in our next segment here from Todd Bowles. I did an interview in the locker room with Levante David and Carlton Davis. And by the way, had a little fun with Carlton Davis and Antoine Winfield, because Davis was right as you said. He threw that ball. Dak threw it into about 6 guys, and they were all taking numbers to get that ball. And Carlton's hands were up. He's like, "This one's all mine." And Winfield just jumped it and snatched it away. And they were going back and forth in the locker rooms. Yeah, he goes, and then Carlton goes, "You're the second one that's told me that, and I'm pissed." Yeah, that was mine all the way. That was my guy. So when you got guys taking numbers for picks, you're in good shape. So we'll get into the defense a little bit later. We'll hear more from those guys from the locker room. So by the way, first time I've been able to get into a locker room in about 3 years, and it was awesome. It was just awesome to be able to talk to these guys face to face. Not with 1,000 people around, not on a Zoom call. You just get so much more information, and you can really talk to the guys. Brady, I know it's something that you've done all your entire career, and it's great for the fans because we get better stuff. There's just no doubt about it.
There's no doubt. And the other thing is, as media guys who've been doing this forever, there's a sense that we have. So whether we're football savants or not, we're not. But the bottom line is, in covering these teams for 20 years, you get a sense of angst, love, togetherness, split screen, whatever it is. When you're in there, the body language, not just questions getting answered or not getting answered, but the body language and the way they look at each other, and the way that they're handling themselves and the way that the leaders are stepping up, putting on their ties, getting dressed and answering the hard questions versus not. We can all feel that. And it's the reason I thought that the Cowboys had a chance in this game, because the defensive side of the football last year was good and getting better. They turned the ball over tremendously. They have a lot of depth. And so I thought that you guys would struggle to score a little bit. And I do want to give some credit to the Cowboys defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
You guys just kept kicking field goals. And the truth is, in the NFL, that's a recipe for losing. Now, it wasn't going to be yesterday because the Cowboys quarterback wasn't right. They were not set up to complement all of their weapons, and they chose not to run the football. So the offensive coordinator here is the one who's really on the hot seat. But overall, to be honest with you, from 7 to 10 minutes into that game, as a Cowboy media person, and someone who's rooting for the Cowboys to win because it's better for my business,
right?
They weren't ever going to win that football game after about 8 minutes into the game. They just weren't.
No, they really weren't all that threatening. And it is surprising, though, that they kind of went away from the run, because I thought early on, I can tell you, Elliott looked trimmer, he looked slimmer, all those things. And obviously he's motivated. This is the last year before he has no more guaranteed money, right? Yep. And I thought he was very impressive. I don't think it was the best game of sorts for guys like Akeem Hicks and guys like Will Golston. I don't think they set their mark correctly yesterday, and Zeke took advantage of it. But that game, up until midway to the third quarter, it was 12-3. This game wasn't going away from anybody. If you're Dallas, I know you're behind, but it's not like you're behind by a lot. The running game was the only thing that was working. Dak, as you said, everybody watches all the Cowboy games, right? That's one of the worst games I've ever seen Dak Prescott play. One of the worst.
Gil Brandt, the great Gil Brandt, who's in the Hall of Fame, once came down to a TV show that I was doing and yelled at me for an opinion that I had. And as he was walking away, he said, "You need to remember this, son. The key to great coaching is adjustments." So I'm watching Zeke run the football better than I thought he was going to. And I think maybe the offensive coordinator got caught off guard. But can't you just see what's in front of you?
Yes.
And we've wondered here a lot about momentum in years past. This is working. This is working. This is working. What are we going to do? Let's do something different. How come? Football is still an old-fashioned game. The old-fashioned nature of the game you played yesterday was, here's Leonard Fournette, and here's these 4 guys going this way or this way. How do you like it? Yeah. And the Cowboys were like, it hurts. Yeah. We don't like it. and we expected Brady to have to pull things out and be better, and he didn't have to. And so I know he's not happy with how he played, but he played correctly. He took 2 or 3 sacks. Fall down. You're winning the game. Just don't turn the ball over. And the turnover came really at a point where he made a mistake. I didn't feel like there was life injected in the Cowboys because Tom threw a pick in the fourth quarter with 10 minutes left to go. That damn game was over.
50-yard line. Yeah, the game was over.
That game was over.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy, I think it was after that turnover, they go 3 and out. And it was 3. And they got, I think it was 4th and, I don't know, it may have been 4th and 6 or 4th and 7. I forget. At 4th and 6 with 11:29 left on the clock. You're at the 50-yard line and you're down 2 scores and you punt the football. Like what are you doing? Game management. I mean, that's just stupid.
Well, I think that's old school stuff too.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of stuff running through his head. He's basically saying, well, really my best unit's the defense. I guess I'll roll them back out there. Maybe Tom will give us the ball. Maybe we'll get a scoop and score. Maybe something will inject life into this team. And if it's going to happen, it's going to probably be from our defense. But on the offensive side of the ball, you know, you and I talked yesterday about some prop bets. And I was like, Tony Pollard over 2.5 catches is the easiest thing in the world because we all know they don't have wide receiver situations. We all know they're going to lack with something probably on the interior other than Dalton Schultz. Tony Pollard caught 2 passes. Now he had one called back because of a illegal man downfield, which happened about 3 times to the Cowboys yesterday.
Yeah.
One of the things that really stuck out to me with the Cowboys yesterday, and they were converse, is that I thought the Cowboys coaching was terrible.
Terrible.
Terrible. They did not adjust on the fly. They did not see what was in front of them. They did not play to the strength. I think maybe the Cowboys didn't expect to be able to run the football as effectively against your front 7 as they did.
Maybe. Yeah.
And so they just never adjusted. Tony Pollard was basically a zero-sum part in that game, and I know what they're going to tell me in that locker room or behind the scenes. He can't pick up the blitz, which he didn't, right? He's not a good blocker. Zeke's the one who's a good blocker. That shit's also weak. Please coach around certain things for me. If Tony
throw the
Pollard's
ball
in the game,
flat. How do you not hit him in the flat
put him
7 times?
Exactly. Stop having Tony Pollard step up. They went 2 wide receivers a lot, right? 2 wide receivers against your secondary and the smarts of the linebackers that you have is not a winning game.
No.
If you're going to go 2 wide receivers, you damn well better just run the football.
Yeah. I was very, very. I'm shaking my head a lot on what Dallas did in this game in terms of adjustments, and it wasn't good. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll take our first break. Want to remind you, we're brought to you by Emerging Investigations, emerginginv.com. You can reach them there. Tampa Bay's #1 private investigation agency, and also our trip to Dallas is brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group. The Jeeves Law Group. Go to jeeveslawgroup.com for more information. If you recently had your car totaled and did not get enough money from the insurance company, you can sue them and get that money back. And it's a very, very common practice. So it's a free call. Just go to jeeveslawgroup.com and find out if you have a case. All right, quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the Bucs defense. We're going to hear from Levante David. We're going to hear from Carlton Davis. We're going to hear from all the guys. When we come back live from Dallas, it's the JP Peterson Show with DSP Media as well. Stay with us.
Let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your 6. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your 6. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. JP here for Italiano Insurance. If you've started a side hustle during COVID and the business has grown, well, you need business insurance, because if you get sued, you could lose all your personal wealth if you're not properly protected. That's right. Your home, your savings, everything could go. So get protected now. Call the great agents at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799, and a real human will answer the phone and get you protected. If you haven't shopped your business insurance in a while, you could be overpaying by thousands. One customer had their golf buddy handling his business insurance, then called Italiano to shop it around, and they saved him $26,000 a year. Yeah. So call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Italiano Insurance, protecting all the pieces of your life for over 60 years. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this: no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. There are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, one unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods. You have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately, or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Coming back at you.
Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show as we're coming to you live from Dallas. The Buccaneers with a big 19-3 opening win on Sunday Night Football in AT&T Stadium. That was absolutely jam-packed. What a venue for watching football, by the way. Just absolutely amazing. And I'm not sure if it was, by the way, Brady Tinker joining us here, DFW Sports and DSP Media here, our new media partner based here in Dallas. And it was either you or Tim that told me it was a 5-star press box. And boy, you nailed that. That the prime rib, the mac and cheese, the shrimp roll,
the beer.
Beer. I didn't get to sample any of that at the end, but
they'll give you some pretty good beer on tap in there as well. Yeah, it's very nice. Everything that Jerry does in terms of marketing his team and making sure the media is happy and comfortable is first class. He treats all of us great. In all of the years that I've covered the Cowboys, I've never had him push back at me or heard him push back at almost anybody in the media, no matter how pointed or driving or sometimes backhanded the questions are. You will be treated very, very well here in Dallas. So this is a friendly place, and the Cowboys are a friendly organization.
Well, if you haven't won a Super Bowl since 1995, it's probably good to be good
friendly
to the media.
Yeah.
We're easily bought off. Let's just be honest.
Right.
It's been prime rib will get you a lot of favorable coverage even when you suck. So
and dessert,
the gelato with the little containers is absolutely fabulous. Oh, yeah. And everybody was so nice, and the stadium was so well laid out.
Yeah,
it is a beautiful, beautiful venue. They have done it right here. We stayed up at the Star, which is their practice facility. I didn't get a chance to go into that, but Brady, that thing is, what is that? It's like $1 billion whole complex there, right?
Yeah, closer to 2. And all of the construction that you see around it and behind it. And then if you headed north another 8 miles, Jerry owns almost everything along the North Dallas Tollway corridor from where the Star is all the way to Highway 380. As a matter of fact, as I understand it, the PGA of America moved here a couple of years ago. They're building golf courses, and the landlord for the PGA of America is Jerry Jones. So just good business. It's just not really good GMing, but it's good business, and it's fun for us in the media. I'm not sure how fun it is for the fans.
Yeah, I when I look at that roster And I just look at it. The La'el Collins thing is ridiculous. You pointed this out, Randy Gregory. Those are, as you pointed out on our show, for those who missed it, those are dogs. You
Right.
don't let dogs get away. And you didn't have to. Like, why? You had the money. Why did they not sign them up?
It's all, to be honest with you, Jerry. It was a pissing contest between Gregory's agent and Jerry at the end. Randy Gregory got offered the contract the Cowboys offered him first by Denver, and Denver made the offer. But Gregory said, call Jerry. I think I still want to be a Cowboy. These guys have put up with a lot, right? I mean, he got suspended 2 or 3 times. But the truth is, in the last 2.5 years, he's been very good. And he is a dog, and he hasn't had any suspension problems. And essentially what that came down to was there's a clause apparently in essentially every Dallas Cowboys contract that says if you get suspended, and I think between the lines, for drugs or for beating a woman or for something that's we don't want to put up with, your contract can be void. Apparently the only person on the Cowboys team that doesn't have that caveat in his contract is Dak Prescott. So that was a norm. That wasn't a backhanded slap at Randy Gregory, but Randy Gregory and his agent were like, we don't really like that clause. And the bottom line is you put up with him and help nurture him through 3 years of suspensions. But now he's really good.
Right.
And he sort of looks like DeMarcus Ware sometimes, wearing 94 and getting almost, parallel to the ground rushing the passer. Just take it out. And Jerry, his agent went back and forth. And Jerry, as I understand it, basically just slammed the phone down and was like, he gone. So that was it. La'el Collins, they felt like let them down a few times with the suspension, with getting COVID, with some of the things that he did. But Jerry always loved both of those players and admittedly would say those are 2 of our badasses, our dogs, on a team that in the last, since the Super Bowls hasn't had a lot of dogs. They've had talented guys. They've had sexy guys. They've had good players. This has been mostly an offensive team. But in terms of dogs, they don't have many. And back to the game, the dog yesterday in the game for the Cowboys, really the one and only, was the running back who only got 10 carries at 5.5 yards a carry and really wasn't even on the field that much. So there's not a lot that I understand.
Well, the Bucs defense was really, really good yesterday in so many ways. And I know we could look at the Dallas offense and say, they're missing Tyron Smith. They're missing Michael Gallup. Those are huge misses. There's no doubt about it. But hell, the Bucs were missing Ryan Jensen. They didn't have Chris Godwin for most of the game. They had to make some adjustments. Obviously, they're starting a rookie left guard. So there was a lot of issues for the Buccaneers as well. And they fought through them.
The other thing, too, though, if I'm a fan of the Cowboys, I'm saying, yes, you were missing Gallup, but you knew you were going to be missing Gallup.
Right.
We've known that since Christmas.
Right.
You also knew you were going to be missing Tyron Smith at some point. You didn't think necessarily it would be week 1 against the Buccaneers, but Tyron Smith's missed 6 games every year for the last 6 years of his career. He's got a back problem. He's probably a Hall of Famer, and he's an all-time Cowboy, but Tyron Smith gets hurt. And so La'el Smith is gone. Then you draft a future left tackle. But remember, he played at Tulsa.
Right.
This kid's not coming from the SEC. He's not coming. Tyler Smith's not coming in here even near ready to go up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 1. And the truth is, he actually showed himself pretty well. He really did. He had problems with the right tackle, who they trust, this Terrence Steele. Nice kid, and they trust him, but his 4 penalties all seem to be absolutely huge.
Yep.
And, that was another bugaboo that it reared its ugly head. If the Cowboys ever had a monicum of momentum, which they almost didn't, they were never able to seize it because of penalties. What happened to them last year? Penalties. What happens to an undisciplined team? Penalties. This has been a penalty team for years. So all of the same things, and then a quarterback who never looked right pre-injury had this game really a relatively easy game in my eyes, looking that way towards Tampa.
I was going to point out, by the way, speaking to the defensive effort last night, and I think this is something we saw too, that Todd Bowles made a change, and I think it might lend to why the Cowboys had so much success running. Yeah. And I found this stat interesting. Todd Bowles implemented 2 high shells safeties on 56% of snaps, and the Bucs only did that 38% of the time last season. And that's why the Bucs are so good at stopping the run last year. In this game, they kind of said, okay, we'll let you run on us a little bit. We have the linebackers that can manage it a little bit to where it doesn't go crazy. You're probably not going to do it anyway much while we play this 2 high shell. And that was, I think, probably why Dak Prescott also had a hard time. because the Bucs were able to play that way. So I think that's something also that's good coaching by Todd Bowles going in and implementing that game plan as well. I found that stat very interesting.
He went against what we normally expect from Todd Bowles and the defensive game plan, and that is you guys like to blitz. But we talked about this a couple of days ago before the show, and that is Dak Prescott was very good last year against the blitz. As a matter of fact, 23 of his 37 touchdowns came against the blitz. And so I think you guys were completely ready saying, listen, let's make him throw into tight windows. He doesn't like it. We all, as Cowboys fans, know it. Dak likes receivers that are open. Dak likes a good rhythm to the game. You guys allowed no rhythm. There was no rhythm to anything the Cowboys did. And the other fallback is, as good as Zeke looked, and he looked good, he looked bouncy, he looked strong. Zeke had 2 carries last year, 2 over 15 yards.
Yeah.
Zeke ain't going to the house. This isn't Zeke from years 1, 2, and 3 that would jump over the cornerback who didn't want to tackle him and run another 35 yards. Those days are gone. Zeke has heart, but he's got mileage on him out the yin-yang, and nobody's worried about Zeke going to the house. So, 10 carries at 5.5 a carry had really no effect as far as Tampa was concerned. The game plan seemed perfect to me.
The Bucs, they held Dallas to 244 yards, under 200 till garbage time, really. They did not have a red zone opportunity. Dallas never got in the red zone. 0 for 0. As bad as the Bucs were, 1 for 3 in touchdowns in the red zone, the Dallas never even got there. That was shocking. I just looked at that. They had 4 sacks. I thought their pressure package was really, really good, and most of the time rushing 4. A couple of sacks from Devin White. You know, we've been talking about Devin White in this offseason, and Devin has been talking about Devin White, saying, I got to play more under control. And we saw that last night. He didn't just run in like a banshee on fire and run past Dak Prescott. He slowed down. He got the sack. He made sure he got a double. That was huge, I thought. That's going to be something big for the Buccaneers. If he can learn to play as a poised linebacker, not just some kid running around with his hair on fire. So that was good. Anthony Nelson, I think, is going to have a big year. Got a sack. But talking about him, he's in a contract year. Nobody knows about him. This kid can play. He can come off the edge and he can play. Joe Tryon, I thought, was very, very active in the backfield. He's another guy that adds a lot more athleticism than JPP did. And he's not playing with one arm like JPP did last year. Vita Vea got a sack. I thought he played well. Akeem Hicks, I thought the whole defense played well.
You got to bring up Shaq Barrett as well, because I know he did get a sack, but he had 7 pressures, which led the team. And
he broke Dak's hand.
Yeah, he broke it. There you go. And he had behind only Micah Parsons, by the way, had a higher win rate in games across the entire National Football League yesterday. It was Micah Parsons and then Shaq Barrett. So, again, you got to give props to him as well, even though he wasn't able to get home.
It was impressive seeing a lot of really good players play good. For some reason, I wondered if the motivation factor, if this team might be off a little bit for the time that Tom took off, or the fact that the head coaching situation is different. How they're running the defense is slightly different. Working in Julio, the things we do have, the things we don't have. I'm sure, without having been there, that the rhythm of training camp and the way things go in a Tom Brady and Tampa Bay Buccaneers training camp was completely different. So I had this strange feeling, as someone who's covered football forever, that you guys were going to be a little bit off. And the truth is you weren't, I don't think. Maybe Tom was a little bit. But if you guys were off at all in any factor in this game, your coaching staff did everything right.
Yeah.
Did everything right. So your coaching staff didn't allow your team to do anything critically wrong. And then I look at it from the other side and I don't think the Cowboys coaching staff did anything game plan wise or in game making adjustments to help their team.
Yeah, I thought Todd Bowles did a hell of a job managing the game. As we mentioned, he was never going to lose that game. He was going to run the football and not put the ball in danger. We heard Tom when I asked him about that, in case you missed it. I don't know if he's on board with running the ball more than throwing it, but we'll see where that goes from here. I don't think it's not going to be a huge issue on this team. But I did get a chance to ask Todd a question. Let's not forget, this is his first win as a head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they did it in great defensive style. So here's Coach Bowles.
Bucs head coach. It's nice to get a defensive coordinator's dream with holding with 12 first downs, 244 yards. That's a hell of a performance.
I thought the guys did a great job in preparation. They went out there and made plays. They were focused all week. biggest thing was communication. Hats off to the guys. Devin and Levante led them with Vita, led all the guys, and they were in sync, and I thought they did a great job tonight.
Now, that's something I want to kind of seize on here. We're going to hear Levante say it as well because, I've been talking about this defense the entire offseason. I really think it's going to be the bell cow of this team, not just because Todd Bowles is now the head coach, but because they got great players over there. And I think it's completely underrated on so many levels, and I think they got better in the offseason. And I think running the football is going to complement this defense so much better. They played with so much more energy last night because they weren't on the field the whole freaking time. When Tom's slinging it around, sometimes they're getting off the field quicker. Sometimes they're scoring within 4 plays and the defense is out there. Sometimes that's not great for your defense when you score so quick. So let's play the Levante interview as well. And I'll get everybody to react to this because I think it really goes to how he believes this defense is better this year. If we have the Levante David interview. We got it, Nick?
Yeah, I'm getting it queued up here.
All right, because
playing off each other, just playing great team ball. We got a lot of dynamic guys down there on the front line. And the rotation is amazing. So those guys get in fresh and give guys breaches and give guys breaks and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool to see.
There was a key third down. Cowboys are still in it. They throw a screen on you. You made a hell of a play. And I'm like, throwing a screen on Levante David, that's not wild.
That was a great play.
Crazy thing is, when you do the screen, I came to the side and I looked at Gerald. I'm like, you love screens. I'm like, it's just all about, game planning and understanding how they're trying to attack you and then understanding where you at on the field and what plays to come up. And that instance right there was a good read by me.
I thought you didn't shut them out after the opening drive. I don't think this is the standard. This is the kind of game you want to have.
Yeah, definitely the standard. Like I told him, coming into training camp, we set a standard for ourselves, and set goals for ourselves, play physical football, create takeaways, and be relentless. And there was a good start. There was a good start for sure. But we got a lot more football left to play. But it's definitely the standard that we're trying to upkeep, and we're going to see where we go from here.
To get tied his first win and a defensive performance like that, is that extra special for you?
Oh, most definitely, man. Most definitely. Coach Bowles, man, he's a great guy, man. A great football coach. He's a great mind, for football and outside of football. And for us to, go out there and accomplish this victory for him on Sunday Night Football was really, really cool to see. And then us to play the type of effort we played with on defense. Everybody was kicking on all centers with communication. Everybody just being on the same page. It was real fun to be out there and see him on the sideline, all happy and shit, and knowing that, his game plan worked.
Did you give him anything special after the game?
Nah, nothing special after. He'd been the head coach before already. You know what I'm saying? So, but we definitely, give him a little love or whatever. Coach Boy, he's a man of few words, man. Very, humble guy, but he knows at the same time, he knows he that dude.
Hey, Levante, you played this team last year in the opener, and a year later, here you go again. What did you learn from last year's matchup against them that maybe helped this time around?
Yeah, just that game was a little sloppy on our part. We had a lot of missed tackles that game. We wasn't on the same page about that game, but they hit us with a lot of different looks that we weren't used to. So now, today, we was ready, basically, ready for whatever they threw at us. We just understood what we wanted to do.
That's Levante David, one of the captains of this defense, and you heard him talk a lot about communications. And another, I asked him in another part of an interview, how can this defense be better? And he's like, yeah, this is, and I think we forget that this is their fourth year in the Bowls defense now, and most of these guys, the core of this defense is pretty much the same with Devin White, Levante David, Carlton, the secondary. I mean, they've obviously added some pieces, Vita Vea, but the core of this defense has been around a while. And a lot of them have played in this system for a while. And Brady, I think a lot of times, we don't talk about continuity enough in this league because there's not a lot of it. People are moving a lot. But when you look at the continuity on this defense, and Todd Bowles is one of the best defensive coordinators, that's why I've been saying all off season, this is the hidden gem. You can, obviously when Brady's on your team, everybody's going to talk about it. And look, this offense can be explosive. They were number 2 in the league last year, right? So you're going to talk about Brady. You're going to talk about Evans. You're going to talk about Godwin. You're going to talk about Fournette. But don't forget this defense. These are some badasses, and I think it's a key to them going deep into the playoffs. What do you think?
I would say this, that I'm a Kansas City fan, as I mentioned. And so when Joe Montana came to Kansas City in 93, I think it was, and The Chiefs went to 2 straight AFC Championship games, and players that are generational players lift everybody up. And I think the fact that Tom Brady wasn't MVP last year was an effing joke.
Yeah,
5,000 yards, all of those touchdowns. And the truth was the Tampa team lagged at times last year. It was visible. But he doesn't allow them to lose. He doesn't allow them to lag. He demands in his own play and with his voice a certain level of play on both sides of the ball. And if you're a defensive player and you're Devin White or Levante David or Shaq Barrett or whoever it is, or some of the guys around you have attention deficit disorder on occasion, as rich athletes do.
Yeah.
When you look across the other side, you say, we can win another Super Bowl. We can all go to the Pro Bowl. The cameras are on us. The lights are on us. And it ain't because we're Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's because Tom effing Brady plays here. And we are one of the 2 or 3 most popular teams now in the NFL. And we'd be ridiculous not to be giving this our full effort. And then, yes, the coaching staff remains the same. There's a consistency in message from the top all the way down to the quarterbacks, to the defensive guys on the defensive side of the ball. As you said, they were pointing out, and I didn't know what his name was, but there's a tall kid, I think it was number 8 on your team. And he made some plays yesterday on the outside.
Number 9, Joe Tryon.
There you go. And they were, the announcers were saying, last year he had a tendency to run past plays, right, and be like a colt, running around out in the field and, chasing a bug. And he didn't. And you could see they could notice the adjustments and the calmness that's come over him. That's the reason that this is the odds-on favorite team to go to the Super Bowl right this effing minute. Is all of that it all begins. If you're a Tampa Bay fan and you don't appreciate the fact that the greatest quarterback to ever play is quarterbacking your team, you're missing it, because he'll be gone. It may be after this year, so we hear, or it may not. But the level, look at it this way, Tampa fans. What'd you think about the Cowboys and Dak Prescott? Did you think your team had a chance to lose? Quarterbacking in this league is damn near everything. Damn near everything. Who else played well yesterday? Kansas City, and that's about it. Guess what? They got a great quarterback. So this team looks really good. I don't see anything but positives other than the fact that I don't know why you allowed Godwin to come in and get a hamstring or whatever yesterday when he really didn't need to play. I'm sure he wanted to play. That's the kind of guy he is, but I thought that was silly.
Nick, what do you think? But first defense, and then we'll talk Godwin, that decision.
Yeah, I think the defense, the other thing that we may have discounted during the offseason, we talked about the experience that was no longer in the building, like JPP and Ndamukong Suh.
Right.
The counter to that is this is already, believe it or not, I think, what is it, year 5 of Vita Vea?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's not young anymore. He's now an experienced leader in the middle. We don't talk enough about Will Golston and how long he's the longest tenured Buccaneer, I think, next to Levante David. The leadership he provides. Akeem Hicks coming into that role, right? Logan Ryan, who played pretty well last night. He was out there, I think, like 85% of the time. And Antoine Winfield learning a new position. And now he's in his 3rd year. And clearly, he's just like his father, very mature and everything. And he's another leader. So I think that goes into it as well. Is we maybe lost a little bit not having JPP and Ndamukong Suh from a locker room standpoint. But all these other guys are getting older. And then in the back end, which was fantastic last night, there's this competition for everybody to be better because, I mean, Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting in the contract years. Carlton Davis just got his big contract, and he's motivated to show that he's, a true cornerback 1 in the league. And last night,
he played great.
He was locked down. So I think that's another thing that goes into this defense. And as Brady said, and not at one point was I threatened by the Cowboys last night. Not at one point was I threatened.
Again, an offense that lost a lot, that was without a lot, but certainly was the highest scoring offense last year. All right, we're going to take our second break here. On the other side, we're going to get into a lot of the other NFL games, and then we'll get back to the Buccaneers. I might make Nick talk a little bit about the Rays weekend because I didn't watch a stitch of it. I watched a little bit of the highlights.
By the way, I'm wearing this shirt right here. Here it is. I'm not talking about this game today.
Yes, you are.
No,
you will be talking about because I asked you on Twitter. Still think they're better than FSU? Still think they're better than FSU? Huh? I know. We'll talk a little college football too. Big second hour. Brady Tinker is here with us with DSP Media. We're live in Dallas. Don't go anywhere. We're going to hear more from Tom Brady, more from Todd Bowles. Got a lot more locker room interviews and funny stories from last night as well. Stay with us. here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
From Dallas, where the Bucs got a huge win last night, 19-3, and jam-packed AT&T Stadium. We're brought to you by the great folks at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com, and our second hour here, Emerging Investigations. And our trip to Dallas is brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JeevesLawGroup.com. If your car has been totaled out in the last couple of years and you did not get full value for it, that's something the insurance companies like to do all the time. Well, you can get that money back. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, give them a call. It's a free call. And by the way, if you're listening in Dallas, the Jeeves Law Group also has a office in Dallas as well. So this is something that a lot of people, it happened to me. It happened to me. I don't know if the statute of limitations is done, but I'm going to get Scott Jeeves on this right away and the great attorneys at the Jeeves Law Group and find out if I can make some money on this here and get some of that money back. So there are a lot of things like that. We'll be talking to Scott in the coming months and getting some great legal perspective from him. He's also a huge Gator fan, so he's probably not real happy after this weekend's loss to Kentucky. So I don't want to rub that in as a Seminole right now, but because we want to keep our sponsorship intact. Brady Tinker has joined us as well from DFW Sports Beat. You can find him at Twitter at DFW Sports Beat. We really appreciate you jumping in, Brady. Great stuff on our pregame show yesterday where we begged the people. Did we not beg them to take the under and the Bucs in the 2.5 last night?
There were only really, week one is so difficult. There were only really 2 or 3 things that felt like they were gimmies. The Cowboys were going to try and depend on their defense. They were going to play really good, solid defense and hope to turn Tom over, which is a tough thing to do. But I knew the Cowboys weren't going to score many points against you, and I knew that your team and your coaching staff and your quarterback would not have a great sense of urgency to get to 30 because 20 would do. And so, yeah, that was one we gave you. If you stop to think about it at all, you could sort of feel that one coming.
Well, I got absolutely destroyed on Saturday on my college football bets because I was listening to John Gerber, our boss here at DSP Media. He led me down the wrong path. He's our golf guy, and he's crushing it in golf. Won this week in golf, by the way. Had the winner in golf. So he cashed, I think, $3,800 in golf this weekend. So we're going to make you money all season long in golf with John Gerber. But don't listen to a damn thing he says about college football.
John is a borderline tour player, and so
Yes.
he is in tune with what good golf looks like, what it sounds like. He'll talk to me about, this guy's going to do good this week because he's really good on that kind of grass. I'm like, he's so good on that kind of what? Oh yeah, the grass. He's better around the greens because of that grass, and the bounce on his wedges is perfect. I'm like, oh, dude, but that guy bets and wins on golf. So From the Rough is his show, and it's a show. It's just terrific.
When you think about it, I don't know of another tour player that does gambling, where has been out there on the grasses and knows a lot of these guys personally, can call them up and talk to them on a weekly basis, and then knows the courses because he's played them. I mean, it's just this ain't throwing darts at a board, folks. This guy can break it down. And, kind of like me in NFL yesterday, I think I had the best day I've ever had in betting in the NFL. So I came back strong on Sunday. I was 9 for 10 yesterday on my bets. 9 for 10.
We talked about everything. What'd you miss?
I think because after the 1 o'clock games, I went and bet every over. I mean, every under in the afternoon. I think I missed one. And then parlayed the Bucs under and the 2.5. So that was a nice little hit as well. Yeah. But I was on the right side of a lot of games yesterday, so which is very odd.
One thing about listening to John's From the Rough Golf Show, when he tells you to make a bet, he's making the same bet. He will never put a recommendation out there for someone on a golf tournament to make a bet that he's not putting at least $100 down on, or $1,000, or whatever it may be that he bets. He bets, he makes lots of money, and he will tell you what he's doing. So I'm like, dude, you got to tell people that more. There are people that work for all the big brands all around the country telling you what to do on an over and under, or who's going to win or who's not, or first round, second round, third round, et cetera, et cetera. 98% of them aren't putting a dime on anything.
Right,
this guy's telling you, here are the 8 things that I'm going to do in today's golf tournament or this weekend's golf tournament, and I'm getting ready to go to the window and do them myself. So for me, that comes with a little more conviction.
Absolutely, 100%. So, all right, I wanted to get into some of the other NFL games yesterday, and Brady did a great job of breaking down the NFC and how good the Bucs look right now. But we did talk about on the pregame show one team in the NFC. I think it's going to be a surprise, and I thought they played great yesterday with a new coach, and that's the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
I think they got a nice defense, but offensively, I think they're varied. I think this is a team, if they stay healthy, can make some noise, and I think we saw that yesterday. Now, week 1 is the worst week to overreact or underreact. I get that, but I like what I saw from Minnesota. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's always shocking to me when a good team like Green Bay allows Justin Jefferson to go for 9 for 184 and 2 touchdowns.
And just wide open.
I respect, Osborne and Adam Thielen, but Thielen's got a little bit older. He's just not fast anymore. So now he's crafty. How you're not over and under double bracketing Justin Jefferson on essentially everything that looks like a passing play, I don't understand. But you give him credit. That's a good Packer team. Those are 2 teams that know each other and have played each other for years. And I think all of us thought, boy, here's a key place for Minnesota to really play a good game at home. Rodgers is lacking weapons, it appears. And boy, this is a key time. And then I kept thinking, but they won't do it because Minnesota doesn't beat Green Bay. And Rodgers is Rodgers and Kirk is Kirk. And so it's not going to happen. And it happened. And they played with an open, offense first type personality, which they haven't done in years. Now they have a different head coach who's kind of lighting things up and says, hey, we're probably best on the offensive side of the ball. So they looked great. Green Bay, a few things, and because I know everyone's still thinking, well, it'll still be Green Bay, and they're still one of the teams. Green Bay gave up a ton of yards yesterday. They gave up 4.5 yards a carry and 125 yards on the ground. Jefferson had nearly 200. Thielen, Cousins, they did whatever they wanted. And as much as the Packers say they don't have any receivers, I mean, really the one he was missing and I'm blanking on his name.
Well, Devontae Adams.
No, certainly that, but the guy that was going to step up, and I'm just messing his name.
Christian Watson.
Lazard.
Lazard.
Yeah.
Lazard didn't play yesterday, and that's probably a big deal. But he's got Cobb, who's been with him. He's got Sammy Watkins, who I know personally runs fantastic routes. Sammy Watkins just gets hurt, but he's a really good receiver. Aaron Jones is a great receiver out of the backfield. He had Tunyon, who's this guy. Dubs or whatever, the rookie, has had a really good start to the season. So excuses may abound for Aaron Rodgers, but I don't really want to give them any. They just weren't very good yesterday, and he wasn't very good yesterday. Maybe not enough Ayahuasca or whatever, but
and he had some after the game, I bet. But Christian Watson, who's a Tampa native kid, he dropped one right in his lap. I mean, and that's deflating. But I look at Rodgers and I go, dude, you want to make $50 million. You want to break the bank. That's why Devontae Adams isn't there anymore. Tom Brady takes $25 million a year. He could take 50, but then guess what? We don't have Chris Godwin. We don't have probably Leonard Fournette. And then where are you? I mean, where are you? It makes a difference. And for him to, stare into the camera and bitch and moan about not having, great receivers and we'll learn and we'll get it down. That's your own fault. And that's always been my problem with Rodgers. He's not a leader. He's just not a leader. He's not a guy that people are going to run through the wall for. He's just not that guy. He doesn't raise the level of everybody else because I don't think his teammates see him as that guy. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan. I am a fan watching him. I'm a fan
supremely talented
of the ballet that his light on his feet and his effortless throws on time, on target through the years, and how many games they win in the regular season. If I'm a fan, it's fun to be a Packer fan every year for the last 30 years now with the quarterbacks that they've had playing football. But the truth is, every organization will tell you, we want to put ourselves in the tournament. We want to put ourselves in a position to get to where we can win a Super Bowl. The Packers have done that a lot under Aaron Rodgers, a lot, and they've won one. It seems to me like they should have won more than one.
Absolutely.
It's very difficult to do. We all know that. It's very difficult to do because as good as Tampa was in mauling the Chiefs in 2019 or 20 or whatever it was, they haven't done it since then either. It's difficult to get through game to game, season to season, and win and get yourself all the way to the playoffs and then to the Super Bowl. There has to be a lot of luck. You have to be lucky with health. You have to be lucky with, unfortunately, there's still an officiating problem for me in the NFL. You and I watched games yesterday before you went to the stadium, and the officiating sucks. I don't understand how an organization in the league that is worth whatever they're worth, $50 billion, $100 billion, has 62-year-old white guys who are working on their arms, who never played football at a high level, out there making calls.
Much
where
of
they're
attorneys.
These extraordinarily athletes, right?
Yeah.
These extraordinarily athletes. If you haven't been that good an athlete, you don't understand what they're doing. You don't understand an advantage that's being gained or not, right? Circumstantial.
Totally agree.
There was offensive pass interference in 3 or 4 games that we watched that was just silly, and then it wasn't called in another game. I don't get it. There are so many guys who tried to make it, who played at a high level of college football, who tried to make it in the NFL, who didn't. All of those guys need to be paid, whatever it is, $250,000 a year to come be officials for this grand game, and it would make your game better. That's too much time out of your show. But
no, I love it.
You and I did a
it.
lot of head shaking yesterday on
Yeah.
the officiating, and it is one thing that mystifies me about this great league.
Well, they look at this game as almost like a legal brief, and they adjudicate it that way. They look at the rules and the minuscule parts of the rules and try to apply them instead of looking at the flow of the game, watching the athleticism of the game, and understanding, especially in pass interference situations. Sometimes there's contact where there's no advantage game. Sometimes there's just a little bit of contact, but if you're holding a guy's arm, just holding his wrist while he's going for the ball, you can't catch the ball. And sometimes I don't feel like they understand that. I think it's a great point you make. But yeah, this league needs to catch up with that. All right, let's you have any thoughts on the Packers there, Nick? And
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, did y'all see the body language of Aaron Rodgers
it was awful.
after the Christian Watson drop? I mean, he stared right into the camera and did like one of those. It's almost like he looked right at LaFleur or whoever on the sideline and went, "This is what you gave me." But he came back knowing that they were going to trade Devontae Adams. That was reported. That is fact. Now, we can debate if they should have traded him, if he should have taken less money, whatever. You came back to this situation, and it's your job as a quarterback. Tom Brady played with a lot of receivers who nobody had heard of or were unheralded. and made them better. And I just don't think Aaron Rodgers has, I think at this point in his career, he kind of seems like he's just old and grumpy. And I don't think he just has the temperament to want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't. And then he turns on the TV later and watches Devontae Adams with Derek Carr. And Devontae Adams didn't miss a beat with Derek Carr whatsoever. So I don't know. My whole takeaway in general from the NFC was, I mean, the playoff teams from last year, Green Bay, Arizona, Dallas, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Those 5 teams, I'll exclude Philadelphia because they'd play the Lions. Those 5 teams put up a combined 51 points. That's it.
Wow.
And Arizona scored 21 of them, and 14 of them were in garbage time. That's it. So again, bringing it back to the Bucs, they scored 19. The Bucs probably should have scored 30 plus if they were rolling in the red zone like usual. So I think the Bucs are in a great spot because I think the NFC looks a little bit weaker going at least after 1 week.
Well, and one of the teams we brought up yesterday that we think maybe might rise up is the Saints, because we believe in the Saints defense, and we sort of like Jameis for whatever reason. And this is going to be a Kamara year. Kamara didn't do anything. They were lucky to win. And the Saints defense gave up 210 yards rushing to the Atlanta Falcons.
Can't believe that.
210 yards rushing. So, and Jameis, we watched Jameis. Jameis looked lost and befuddled, and like, it's the weirdest thing, but you can watch Jameis and you're like, wait a minute, 10-year-old Jameis is out there right now, looking around, mystified, throwing passes to the wrong team in the wrong place. And then all of a sudden the switch turned on mid-third, and all of a sudden he was like, F it, let's just go for it. I got all these good players, and all of a sudden they came back and won a game that they should have won handily. But that kind of Freudian weirdness out of Jameson makes me say, well, they certainly can beat our team one time this year, no doubt about that, but they're not going anywhere in the playoffs farther than we are. They're just not. That's not going to change.
Well,
I thought – go ahead.
I'll give you a problem with New Orleans, and we really talked about it. They have an Alvin Kamara issue with them because Jameis – last year in the 7 games Jameis played, look at Kamara's receiving stats. They were nowhere near the levels of what they were with Drew Brees. And Jameis, he never threw to the running backs well when he was in Tampa, as you know, JP. He never did. And Alvin Kamara is not a guy that's going to run 20 times a game for 100 yards. He's never been that guy. He's never had an 1,000-yard season. So when you look at New Orleans, yeah, Michael Thomas played well. Jarvis Landry played well. Okay, cool. Jameis turned on a switch against a bad Atlanta team in the second half that is known for blowing leads, right? Yeah. But if they don't have Alvin Kamara playing the way they need him to, I think that makes their chances of doing much very lower. I mean, they had to have Taysom Hill in there again doing his gimmick stuff. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how far that can go without using Alvin Kamara to his strength, and you saw that yesterday.
I totally agree with you, man. If there's one thing Sean Payton knew, it was how to get the ball to his best players, right? Thomas got the ball a crap ton, and Alvin Kamara got the ball any place where he could get out in space against a linebacker or a safety. 3 catches yesterday for 7 yards, hardly having him run any routes. I mean, nothing made sense yesterday. Yes, you're right. That Olave looked pretty good. Looks like they have 3 receivers, but I do not want Jameis Winston in charge of winning and losing these games. I want Tom Brady. I want Pat Mahomes, but I do not want Jameis Winston in charge. I want to play really good defense and run the football and get Alvin Kamara the ball. And if Michael Thomas is healthy, then all the better. But I'm with you. I thought the game plan and the execution for New Orleans yesterday was silly.
Yeah, well, we were watching that game in the first 2 and 3 quarters. I mean, Jameis just kept holding the ball time and time again. And I was just like, this is not the way Jameis plays. I mean, it felt like the New Orleans was trying to Carmichael, their offensive coordinator, was trying to Sean Payton him, how he did in the first part of last year, and only throw it, at certain times, don't put the ball in danger, blah, blah, blah. And they got down. Their defense did not play the way they thought they were. But when they let Jameis let it rip, when he started to play like we know Jameis can play, they were unstoppable. And I think that's, again, but that's what you get with Jameis. He's, he can bring you from 16 back, and Michael Thomas had a couple of big catches, and as you said, Olave 3 for 41. They'll figure out the Kamara thing. I think they will, but that's what Jameis. You never know what you're going to get. But I think that they've learned that they got to let him play a little bit, let him not, play with shackles on, basically. And I think that's the way he played in the first 3 quarters. So I still think there's more ahead for the Saints. I would be concerned, as you said. I mean, Cordell Patterson was just running people over. That guy, I don't know why that guy hasn't had a more stellar career. I think he's one of the best players I've seen in this game. But you were talking about Drake London, Brady, and he had 5 catches on 7 targets, 74 yards. That's a great start for a rookie receiver. Now, Kyle Pitts, did he get hurt? I don't know, but I saw him walking
2
off.
catches, right?
Yeah, 2 catches for 19.
Yeah.
Not great, but I still just think there's something. And am I crazy to say maybe Atlanta's better than we thought? I mean,
Yes.
okay, good.
Yes.
All right, let's not go there at all. All right, just checking. All right, where are we going next? The Cleveland Carolina game as we stay in the NFC South. What a bizarre football game. And Baker Mayfield just missing kicks. It was just bizarre, this game. I think Carolina, Christian McCaffrey looked fantastic. And you know what? When he's healthy, he's probably top 5 player in the league. I mean, he had burst. He looked fantastic, but we all know that's going to be about 3 games. And when he's gone, so are the Panthers.
We saw injured players yesterday look good. Barkley looked really good.
Yes.
McCaffrey looks like McCaffrey. Now, McCaffrey's numbers weren't impressive. They only threw him the ball 4 times for 24 yards and 10 carries for 33 yards with a touchdown. So more McCaffrey, I would think. On the other hand, if you've had McCaffrey as your player for the last 2 years in Carolina, aren't you looking for ways to probably get him a few less touches so that he plays hopefully more games? Because he is the entire key to your offense. But it was a bizarre game. I found it funny that it was the Baker Mayfield revenge game. Whatever. I mean, you've been an average quarterback who's really good on your TV commercials ever since you came into the league. They didn't know you anything. They had a chance a couple of years ago in the playoffs to make hay that their defense was pretty darn good. Their running game was good, and he just couldn't push them past the edge. So the revenge game, whatever. He's going to have some more revenge games because he'll be out of Carolina in a year or two then, and it'll be revenge games there too. The Panthers just aren't good enough. They're not. That's 2 wins on your side.
I'll take it. The Ravens, I thought, looked really good yesterday. 24-9, of course, they're playing the Jets.
How could you not?
Yeah, I mean, with Lamar Jackson, 3 touchdown passes to a couple to Duvernay. Their defense is back. I thought this was free money as well. Pounded the Ravens. I think a lot of people have forgotten about them because of all the injuries they had last year. But this was still a 13-win team. I think the Ravens are. If Lamar Jackson stays healthy and stays focused, and there was a report yesterday that he turned down $290 million.
Apparently, I don't know what the guaranteed money was on that. So that doesn't necessarily knock me
much,
over.
yeah.
It must have, the problem is the Deshaun Watson contract set a precedent of, we all want $250 million. We all want all of it guaranteed. I always thought NFL players should fight for guaranteed money because the truth is they're shortening their lives and they're in danger of being done every single time they step on the field. But I get why owners don't want to do that because the same thing. You mentioned your team and the defense on your team has a lot of guys in year 5 and year 6. The truth is you better make hay because you don't play. You know how long the average career is in the NFL? I know you know this. It's 3.2 years. The NFL stands for not for long.
Yep.
And if you're crappy, then it's not for long. And if you're just a good physical athlete who's going to get beat up, it's not for long. Zeke Elliott's not Zeke Elliott anymore because of all those carries, because of all those hits. This stuff doesn't last. And so your team right here, sort of in its prime, with all these guys in year 5 and year 6, and having kept so many guys together, there has to be a massive sense of urgency for your team to win the Super Bowl again this year. Because when he's done, you may not win one for 20 years.
All right, some of the other I thought Miami, I thought this was free money too. I think New England's going to be really bad this year. Mac Jones goes out hurt with a back injury. Their offense was just a disaster. They don't have a play caller. Belichick thinks he can do it all. I think he's become the crazy old man and the weird scientist or whatever the hell's going on with him. The Patriots aren't good, and I think Miami is. I think Jalen Waddle had another touchdown. What did he have? I'm looking at this correctly.
Yes, 4 for 69 and a touchdown.
And a tutty. Tyreek Hill, eight catches on 12 targets, 94 yards. He was just a big part of the game. And I tell you, I'm so impressed with Tua, what I saw in preseason. And now in this game, I think with their defense, I think the Dolphins are a factor.
I agree. I think they better concentrate on running the football a little bit better. Tua is the kind of quarterback who's a rhythm, on time, on target guy. And those guys have always helped. by the fact that, hey, we're running the ball effectively. So now play action works, right? Basic stuff works. Edmonds is a good running back, and 12 carries for 25 yards isn't good enough. And Raheem Mostert seems healthy, and they believe in him. We know that's big play potential out of Mostert as well. With the speed he has, 5 carries for 16. So if I'm Miami, I am looking at that game saying, if we're going to be who we think we are, we do need to run the ball more effectively.
Yeah, that Waddle touchdown was exactly what I was talking about, what we saw in preseason. He throws that in route to Waddle right in stride between 3 Patriot players, and he never breaks stride and gets to the end zone with that speed. Those 2 guys are in great sync. I think, if you didn't draft him and you're playing daily fantasy, I think Waddle's going to be a guy. And Tua, 23 of 33, 270, a tutty, no interceptions. That's his game. That's his game.
If he's that on time with the football to Tyreek as they begin to really get a rhythm. You watched that Buffalo-Kansas City game last year where Buffalo had the touchdown late and that game's going to be over. And Mahomes hits Tyreek, and he's well covered. And he hits him in stride, and he turns up the field and runs past 5 Buffalo Bills. So if he can get that same sort of rhythm and timing with Tyreek that he has with Waddle, they're really a dangerous offense. If they can execute like that, those 2 guys are really great players.
You know what that game reminded me of too, JP, is you said this yesterday on the pregame show. I think you were talking about mobile quarterbacks, and you said that Tom Brady is a relic. And look at the importance. And I watched the entire league yesterday and watching these guys that are able to make plays with their feet. And in that Dolphins-Patriots game, Mac Jones just looks like a dead man walking every time he just backs up. I mean, it's so true what you said, how Brady's able to continue doing it. When Mac Jones, I mean, he kind of is the same type, but no feel for the pocket. I mean, he just looks so uninspiring. And again, it's just another great example of the quarterbacks that just cannot move nowadays. They just don't do much anymore.
The subtleties of the best quarterbacks, though, Tom is almost immobile. But the truth is, you'll see a play where we all think of 3-step, 5-step, and 7-step drops. That's the world, right? How many times you see Tom take a snap and roll 15 feet backwards? You know why? Because he's setting up a screen, or because he knows that he's got minimal coverage. He's got 4 or 5 guys on the route. He has to buy himself time. His brain just works perfectly, right? 3, 5, and 7, to hell with that. These guys are going to be here in the count of 2. I'm going this way because I work so hard on my arm, I can still make the throws that I need to make, right? We watched Jameis, and Jameis didn't do that. Jameis stood there in the pocket, held the ball too long, and he's standing right there next to his center. How hard is it going to be to sack him? Move your damn feet.
Yeah.
You're young and you're light, bounce around the pocket a little bit. Keep your shoulders square and look down the field. Instead, he just stands there. And as immobile as Tom is, he is brilliant at knowing what's coming and when it's coming. And if I need to buy time, I'm just going this way for a while, and it doesn't scare me at all. I'm not going to screw this up. I won't take a 20-yard sack. I'll throw it away if I need to.
Yeah, there was a play in the game. I think it was a 3rd down in plus territory where I think it was Parsons took a nice inside rush on the tackle and came up inside, and Tom just moved out to his right, set his feet, and threw a laser dig to Evans, who was well covered, hit him right between the 1 and the 3 for about a 20-yard gain. It was just quintessential Brady. Nice movement in the pocket, the little shoulder shake. It was really, really good, and that's where he gets you with his quote mobility. Hey, he ran for 12 yards last year. He had a 12-yard run, and he will not let you forget that either. Any other games jump out at you guys before we hit another break here?
I mean, you got to talk about, I guess, Steelers and Bengals a little bit.
That's
oh my God, what a
that was obvious. That was probably the craziest game. It was completely drunk. It was almost like them trying to one up what we saw the day before in college football. Nobody could make a kick. The Cincinnati air was unkind to both kickers. I mean, Joe Burrow with 5 turnovers. Who saw that coming, right? And the Steelers, who I watched that entire game on Red Zone. I never felt like the Steelers had the ball. Right? They never.
Well, they didn't.
They just never had the ball, and somehow they come out with the win.
I think the number I heard was 33 first downs for the Bengals, 11 for the Steelers. The Steelers didn't have the ball, and then Najee ends up getting hurt, and I think everyone's looking at everyone going, "What the hell are we going to do now?" Deontay's a little dinged. What are we going to do? That game, in a lot of ways, didn't surprise me at all. I think we both thought. Everybody thinks this is a down year for the Steelers. Hopefully, Pickett will eventually get in and play some football for the Steelers. But the bottom line is we're the Steelers, and we're going to be physical, and we're going to come out and smack you in the face. And I think they knew we're on the road. If we don't do that early, we can get blown out of here. But they also knew Cincinnati's offensive line, which was a problem last year, looks like it's still a problem this year. Burrow can't turn the ball over like he's drunk. He has a massive amount of talent. But he had 5 turnovers, and he could have easily had 7. I mean, he lost the game. I know that a kick could have gone through. It was shocking when an extra point to win the game doesn't go through. But the Steelers came out and punched as hard as they could. They just didn't have anything to give on the offensive side. But Cincinnati's got questions on that offensive line.
Yeah, and TJ Watt looks like he has a torn pec. That's a huge loss for the Steelers. I mean, that's a crushing blow. Well, yeah, defensive player of the year. They're done. All right, we'll take another break. And when we come back live to Dallas here, we're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group here, our trip to Dallas. We thank them. Also by Bay Area Modern Medical Center. They're offering $100 off their diet plans, their weight loss plans right now. So a great chance to get in there and get Dr. Lugo and the group there to get you to lean up. In fact, Chris is going to join us tomorrow. We're going to talk about nutrition, which is one of his go-tos. He's a highly, highly studied and decorated nutrition scientist. So we'll talk about nutrition and workouts tomorrow at 10:45. So join us for that. Quick break. When we come back, we're going to embarrass Nick and his UCF team that lost to Louisville. We'll talk a little Gator football, and we'll hear a little bit more from Tom Brady and Leonard Fournette. Stay with us. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Hi, my name is Mike Warner, a Navy vet. I've had problems with addictions throughout the many decades. Something saved my life, and that is the Heroes Mile program.
Hi, I'm Bill Lennox, retired Lieutenant General, United States Army. If you have any challenges in alcohol, drug, if you have PTSD, MST, think about Heroes Mile.
Heroes Mile, a recovery center for veterans by veterans. Call 1-888-VET-NOW2 to learn more or visit heroesmile.com.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
Joe live from Dallas here at DSP Media, here in our media. What we're saying is a great partnership. We're a burgeoning partnership with DSP Media here in Dallas. Love these folks. It's been a great trip. So big thanks to John Gerber and Brady and Tim and the whole group here at Colby. We've been doing pregame shows. Hope you caught that yesterday and you made money on the under and taking the Bucs and many other bets that we gave you and all the other great programming. So we really appreciate them. The Jeeves Law Group, who has sponsored this the pregame show on our trip to Dallas, we appreciate them. Who also has an office here in Dallas as well, JeevesLawGroup.com, and Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there. So we really appreciate all our sponsors, Italiano, AMS Tampa, all the great folks to let us do what we do. All right, Nick, time to face the fire, my man. What the hell happened to your UCF Knights this past weekend against that terrible Louisville team that you said you were going to stomp?
I have never, ever regretted a trip to Orlando more than I did on Friday. I don't like to go to Orlando for any reason. I sat through all that traffic going there. The pregame, it was raining. I went into the team store, which was a mistake. I spent way too much money when I walked in. I bought a freaking jersey, for crying out loud, just because.
At
it was
a team store?
It was
Who
just
buys
right
a jersey at a team store? Money bags?
It was the space uniforms. You know, like those special space editions? They started selling them this weekend. I walked in, and I was like, oh, and of course, I bought it. I don't know why.
Sucker.
I mean, we had the whole night. I mean, we had the whole thing, tailgating and drinking, and everybody was so excited. And then the first quarter comes, and UCF scores on like 2 of their first 3 drives, and then just flat from there. The last 10 drives of the game, I don't know if you saw, 7 punts, a missed field goal, a turnover on downs, and an interception. That was UCF's offense, second, third, fourth quarter of the game against a Louisville team that got beat by Syracuse 31-7 the week prior. I have no words. I've never seen UCF play that bad offensively. It was the worst UCF game I've been to of like the 20 or 30 that I've gone, and I could not wait to get home. I could not wait to go home after that game.
Well, you were not alone. UCF was not alone. Texas A&M falls to App State. Our good friend Charlie Belcher over at Fox 13. He's probably still drunk at this time. I didn't watch him this morning, but I think he's still drunk. That was a huge upset. How many times have I said, Nick, Jimbo Fisher is not a great game coach. He's going to lose 1 or 2 games that he should win. With that kind of talent, come on.
And it's crystal clear to everybody. He's a good coach, not a great coach. He was uplifted by Jameis, and we need to look at these recruiting classes because they're always top 5, top 3, top 1, whatever. Why can't this guy find a quarterback? He has had 1 quarterback his entire time coaching, and that was Jameis Winston. He cannot recruit a quarterback, and that is something that we have to start looking at here.
He's got one, and he didn't play him.
He won't play
his name's Max Johnson, and he didn't play him. I don't know how Max Johnson doesn't play. I mean, are you kidding me? He's going to play now.
The most damning statistic, they brought him in to get away from Kevin Sumlin's mediocrity. Kevin Sumlin, through 50 games, has a better record than Jimbo Fisher through 50 games at Texas A&M. And they're paying Jimbo Fisher $90 million
guaranteed
for 2031 to win 8 games every year.
Brady, you want to jump in here on Jimbo Fisher? You want to pile on while he's down?
No.
Kick that man while he's down.
I'm going to let him rant.
No. All right, your Gators, not your Gators, but the Gators lose 26-15 to Kentucky. Kentucky's a good football team. Will Levis is an NFL quarterback. I thought early on the Gators looked like they were in this game, and then Anthony Richardson clearly regressing. We've talked about this. He had a great opening, but he's just not a polished quarterback. And I knew once Mark Stoops got some tape on him from game one that he was going to shut down his running ability a little bit. As good as he is, he's going to have to become a more well-rounded quarterback. And I think this is probably more of what we were expecting for the Gators. I think that win over Utah probably got people a little bit of false hope. I'm not saying the Gators are a bad football team. I'm just saying that they're not the team that I think a lot of people thought when they beat what I think is a really good Utah team.
JP, I'll just let you know, you didn't have to play a single down of football, and you nearly matched Anthony Richardson's QBR in that game. 3.8 for Anthony Richardson. Could not make he couldn't make a single simple throw. I mean, that was one of the all-time worst performances in a big game by a Florida quarterback ever. This is up there with the Driscolls and some of these other guys who were in that 2012-16 period. It was bad for Anthony Richardson. And it's a reminder of why Billy Napier said, don't crown this guy. Don't crown this team. That was his third career start. And he's having to face a really tough Kentucky team, an SEC defense. And it hit them really. He had no chance. He had no chance. And then if the big plays are not there, Anthony Richardson still has a lot to learn. So, again, Florida is not the 12th best team in the country. Told you that last week.
His coach can help him too, though. 35 passes was ridiculous in a close game. Yes. They ran the ball effectively. And I did think that they should have been able to parlay that momentum from that Utah win. Now, they might have been a little fortunate in the Utah game, but it's still a big win. Parlay that into physical play, right? On your offensive and your defensive line. They ran the ball effectively to the tune of about 6.5 yards a carry. Run the damn ball. Take the pressure off of your kid, because we all thought the same thing. If it's not a big play, then it may not be any play. 35 passes was silly. It was bad coaching.
Anybody want to talk about We Are Marshall going in and beating Notre Dame? Oh, my goodness. This is not a good start for their new head football coach at Notre Dame. I didn't watch a whole lot of the game, but I guess late in the game, they throw a pick six, and Marshall wins at Notre Dame. Wow.
It's hard to be the Notre Dame coach, I would think.
Yeah.
And the Notre Dame's former coach, they probably should have kept him, because he's not having a great time at LSU either.
No.
SEC football, he's going to find out, is a different thing.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's got to be very hard to be the head coach at Notre Dame. You can recruit, but everyone wants you. It's sort of like the Cowboys. Does not everyone want the ass of Notre Dame and a skin of a Notre Dame win every single week? And that is a lot for young kids to handle. It really is.
This is bad for Marcus Freeman already, because I mean he's 0-3 he's 0-3 in the 3 games already. And the reason why I say it's bad, and I'm already judging him a little bit after 3 games, is because he inherited the entire Brian Kelly ship. And it wasn't one of those scenarios where all these players transferred to LSU. Hardly anybody went with Brian Kelly. I don't think a single Notre Dame player or a key player followed him to LSU. They were all there, and those players all propped him up and said, oh, we love him. We love him. He's a player's coach. We want to fight for him. Where were you?
Yeah.
Where were you? I mean, Brian Kelly, newsflash, he's a really good college football coach. Yeah. Notre Dame was awful when he got there. Turned him into a 10 to 12 win program every single year. And so for Marcus Freeman to 1 week actually play hard against Ohio State, I thought, 11-point loss on the road. And I thought, they were able to control Ohio State's offense to an extent. To come out like that against Marshall, who, by the way, JP, remember Kaylan LeBourne from FSU?
Yes.
He hasn't played college football since 2019. He was an Uber driver last year. And he comes in against Notre Dame and South Bend and rushes for 160-something yards and a few scores.
Yeah, that's a great story. It's a great story. And that kid's talented. He really is, as we saw.
At FSU. He just came in at a wrong time.
Yeah. And FSU, by the way, has Louisville on Friday night. I'm not sure who Florida has. And I didn't see the USF game against Howard.
USF, so there you go.
That's right. How did USF play against Howard?
Awful. I don't look at the score. No. This USF, I'm out. I'm out on Jeff Scott. I've never seen you play a team like Howard. You're supposed to put them away, and I know the score looks like that, but they let Howard hang around. They couldn't get anything done passing. Every single thing they got was because of the defense getting a turnover. The offense outside of that was stagnant. Just there's no juice there at all. I mean, it was bad. If you would have gone on social media and looked at all the USF fans, nobody was saying anything positive about that game. I'm getting to a point with Jeff Scott. They're going to get creamed this week in Florida. We all know that's coming. I'm getting to a point where Jeff Scott, where it's hard to defend him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. All right, we promised to get back to some of the Bucs talk here, so let's get back to some Tom Brady. If you have cue up the Brady interview, we'll play a little bit of that as we go through it. In case you missed the beginning of the show, the Bucs win 19-3. We talked a lot about this defense and how good it has been, but was in game one. We've talked about it all in this offseason. It's the offense that's going to be a little bit interesting here, especially with Chris Godwin out. And can we just say, as we mentioned at the top of the show, I love what Todd Bowles is doing. I love what this organization is doing. But listen, I know Chris Godwin can get a hamstring injury at any time whenever he comes back. But it just seems you didn't need to do it. You just didn't need to do it. You didn't need to play him. I mean, we looked at this game and said, look, the Bucs, I don't know how Dallas is going to move the football without Gallup with this offensive line. They're just missing too many people. You knew the Bucs were going to have a really good chance to win this game, and you were healthy. Julio Jones, Scotty Miller wasn't even active. You didn't need Chris Godwin to win. You didn't need Kyle Rudolph. You didn't need Chris Godwin to win this game. Why did you play him? I don't know. Let's tune into Brady here. Here's Brady after the game.
The defense play as well as they did early on. How much did that help kind of take some of the pressure off the red zone issues?
Well, I think that we like to score every time we get in the red area. The reality is you work hard to get down there. You got to finish it off and score points. And, you got to score 7. We score 7, it's a very different game. So we'll get to work on that.
The game, but when you lose Chris Godwin, I know you were able to get him that first pass and lose Donovan Smith in a game. Like, just how difficult was that?
Yeah, there's a lot of tricky things tonight. Just guys coming in and out and, not sure who was going to play. And, guys played and then they were in and were out and we were rotating people and Donnie got hurt and, it's just not a lot of fluidity. So that's the reality of it. It's not always the most fluid sport. You're always doing things to adjust, but I think we're going to find some things that we liked out of the game. There's plenty of things we're not going to like. And, we're just going to have to work on it and get better.
With you, everybody's open, right? But was there a concerted effort to get Chris that first pass?
I think anytime we get Chris the ball, it's a good thing. He's an amazing player, and keep finding ways to get him the ball. Be a great thing for offense.
You've seen a lot of great pass rushers throughout your career. What makes Micah Parsons effective as he is?
I think he's so long, strong, explosive, athletic. He gets on edges, and he's a dynamic pass rusher. So he got me, I don't know, once or twice tonight. Twice, yeah. He's tough. We just didn't execute very well. He made some good plays.
Tom, I know you got a lot to draw on, and it's only the first game of the season, but how do you assess kind of how you feel with your flow in terms of getting back to a real game again?
I got a long way to go. I think we all do, and I think the team's got. I think the defense played awesome. Offensively, we can do a lot better than that tonight. So we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to score in the red area. We're gonna have to stay healthy. We're gonna have to, get back to work and find a little bit of regular season flow, and just put these days together and see if we can make some improvements.
Does it seem like your running game, or it seemed to me like your running game may be a little bit more expanded in terms of some of the different things that you do with the running game? Is that kind of part of the thinking now moving forward too?
I think we've always, we're trying to run it obviously effectively and efficiently, and we did a good job of that tonight. So, yeah, that was good. And I think we're gonna, obviously, the better we do with things, the more we're gonna use it. And certain people, look, we got a lot of new players in the interior part of the offensive line, at tight end. Rashad's a new running back, a few new receivers in there blocking. So, every year different things happen, different things kind of take shape with the team. And as the season goes, I always think you get more of the good, less of the bad. The more you study yourself, the more you understand how teams are seeing you, the more you can complement the things you do well, and it just throughout the whole year, you just keep, putting different things together. So
What do you think Julio was able to give you tonight? First whole game you played with him, obviously. He made a big catch, ran some runs.
Yeah, made a huge catch on the go route. Had some good, balls that were in his hands that he's hard to get down and get him in space. He caught a curl route, which was pretty good. I missed him on a slant early. It was a bad throw, but I have a lot of confidence in him. We're just going to keep growing and getting better. And he's a true professional. I love working with people like that. That it's important to them. They care a lot. I love playing with a guy like Julio. And been very fortunate here to play with Chris and Mike, who really are in that mold. I think the three of them together. Cam's a real pro, and then he's turning into a real pro even as a young player. So there's a lot of good leadership at different positions. Tristan, Donnie, we lose a guy like Ryan, and Hainsey steps in. Luke did a good job. Shaq does a great job. Played a lot of football with him. I know he's a warrior. So got a long way to go. This is just the beginning, and this one game, and there certainly wasn't all great out there. There's a lot we can do better, and that's what we'll try to do better next week.
Talk about some of the fluidity and the different guys coming in, but when you get down to the red zone, you have Mike Evans. What's it like having him down there and knowing you can depend on him?
It's awesome. I mean, he's as dependable as they come. He's a great player, tough, hard nosed, so tall, long, dynamic. I love being out there with him.
Hey, to Mike, was that a check or did that call come in?
That can come in any time. One of the quarterbacks. So Mike's open, he gets it. So we talk about everything. So.
There's Tom Brady right there. I don't know why he didn't want to admit that he checked to that fade to Evans. Maybe he didn't want to embarrass Byron Leftwich in any way, but there was some issues in the red zone, and I'm like, why are they not throwing a fade to Mike Evans? I mean, I'm not a huge fade guy, but when you got Mike Evans on a smaller corner and you're having trouble in the red zone, I think at some point Tom was going to go, we're going to try this. That was a hell of a throw and a great catch by Mike Evans.
I love the fact that Tom doesn't miss anything. And the truth is, when you look at this roster, Godwin in his career hasn't caught a ton of touchdowns. Julio, going to the Hall of Fame, has had years where he's had 2 or 3 touchdowns. He's not what you would call, a touchdown maker. You know what Mike Evans is? He's a touchdown maker. He catches damn touchdowns. So I loved his point of view there of, listen, when I get the right size and the right look and no safety, I'm going to check. You want to say every effing time and throw it to that big bastard over there who will go get it. He's not going to let a ball get intercepted. And Tom's so good at saying, slightly high and outside to the right or slightly low and inside to the left. He'll use his body and get that. That's a player knowing his guys. And if I'm nitpicking your team, will Julio stay healthy? I believe that there's a reason that they ran reverses to Julio. They're trying to interest Julio. If that makes sense, right? Yeah. They're trying to really get Julio re-engaged of, I need you for this amount of time to be the Julio of 6 years ago. We need that. Otherwise, we don't really have a real good deep threat. Evans is a good 50-50 ball guy, but he's not fast. You're missing Antonio Brown here a little bit, really are, or a little bit more speed, or maybe Gage has the ability to be that guy. But that's the one thing that I would say if I was defending your team and I was a really good defense, like maybe the Packers are or some, I would say I'm not that afraid of what's going to happen over the top. He threw a perfect ball that Julio caught the back end of. But I understand why he is trying to get Julio interested, if you will, or fired up or whatever the right word is, because he needs him.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the point I'd make to that, I think the Bucs, though, they have the advantage of not being able to have to play him, like 70% of the snaps or 80% of the snaps like they have to do Mike Evans, who did that yesterday. I mean, he only played 50% of the snaps, Julio. So a completely 50-50 split there of him on the field and off the field. And I do enjoy that they did those kind of – I mean, I was surprised they were running end arounds with Julio Jones. And, they said earlier that he was clocked at like 20 miles an hour in camp, the fastest receiver. I didn't believe it until I saw it. Until he ran by somebody in his hands, he could still catch the football. And he almost caught the one, if you recall, when Brady rolled out to the right and threw across the field.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit of a better throw, but if you watch the slow-mo on that, I don't know if y'all were able to see it. He had his hands on that thing. It was just such a hard catch to make. So, I mean, I kind of felt like, they kind of, because those end arounds, that was AB's role last year, kind of as you mentioned. And I kind of think that definitely adds another element to the roster if he can play 50% of the snaps of the game and fly like that.
Yeah, he looked so fast last night. It's just like we've seen him in practice. That was vintage Julio, and he looked, he's down a little bit of weight. I think that's going to help him in terms of avoiding injuries in his ankles and knees that he's had. He's had 2 screws in his foot since college, so he's still. And I think that lighter weight is going to help him. And and I think I would push back a little bit on Mike Evans because I think he's a better deep ball guy than you think. We saw him toasting Jalen Ramsey in that game. He's sneaky fast because he's a long strider. And I also like Scotty Miller in that role too. Scotty will tell you he's the fastest guy in the NFL. So
He ain't getting on this team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with Godwin out now, if Scotty steps up, I think Scotty's going to be the guy that's going to step up in that role. We don't know how long Godwin's out. We don't know how long Donovan Smith's going to be out. We'll find out more today at Todd Bowles' press conference.
That's more concerning for me, to be honest with you.
You know what's concerning to me? The tight end spot. Kyle Rudolph was inactive yesterday. They brought Kyle Rudolph in to be Gronk, and Kyle Rudolph was inactive yesterday. Cole Keefe was active, a free agent tight end. Otten was active.
Pick. Thank you.
Yeah, 6th-round pick. That's right. I mean, are you kidding me? What the hell's going on with Kyle Rudolph? And I tell you this, Kyle looked great early in camp, and about midway through, he hit a wall. I mean, his legs looked so heavy in the last few practices that I saw. I was like, what the hell happened to this guy? He was looking so good. And clearly, I say this opens the door for Gronk. I'll throw that out here as we get it at the end. I think they cleared some space the other day, $6 million. They may need that for an interior offensive lineman. By the way, I thought Hainsey and Gedeke played really good. I'm anxious to look at the all-22 on the plane ride back. But is this Gronk time? Is this Gronk time? That red zone, no tight end, Cam Brate.
I'll tell you what it is. Yeah, Cam Brate opened the door for anything. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear it. We don't talk about it much, but Cam Brate is past it. He just is. Ever since the injury he had 3 years ago, not nearly the same type of tight end. He had that one play, that 3rd down. I know it was a little bit of a tough catch, but that game, that catch over there, if he would have made it, helps the Bucs take up more clock and wear down the Cowboys and win the game maybe a little bit in a better fashion. I don't know. But you just got to make those catches.
I thought Kyle Rudolph was past it for a couple of years too. So
yeah,
if you're wondering where he's at, he may be where he's at. He may be right there with Cam Brate. It'll be interesting to see if Tom can talk Gronk into playing again. And can you envision the conversation that Tom had with Julio, right? They got together apparently on social media to begin this. Can you imagine Tom playing him like a salesman saying, I think you're still one of the greatest receivers in football. Tell me what it takes for you to get where I need you to have a Pro Bowl season, an all-pro season. He throws it back to him, and Julio says, I don't know. I'm not quite as fast as I was. I could probably lose 12 pounds. And Tom's like, yeah, okay, you can lose 12 pounds. I'll send Giselle and I'll send you the diet. Can you
TB12?
Can you hear the sales job that went on? And I think you're right, too. I think 50% of the plays for Julio is probably about right. If you want Julio to play, let's just say 13 games, then he can't have any games where he's 68, 70% on the field running all those routes, especially the routes that aren't to him.
Yeah, I think to wrap this up, guys, and Brady, thanks so much for joining us here today.
It was a lot of fun. Welcome to Dallas.
Stuff.
We're glad you came.
Yeah, great stuff on our pregame show. Hopefully you guys watched it. Brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group. We would have made you some money. We gave you a lot of picks. That under was we did not have to worry about that at all as we watched that game. So it's been a great ride. I think the Bucs come out of here. Those 2 injuries could be key, but I think, Brady, your point at the beginning of the show, nobody in the NFC has distinguished themselves this week. Nobody. The Bucs are the best of the bunch right now, and I don't think it. I hate to say this, but I don't think it's close right now. There's a lot of teams struggling in the NFC, and the Bucs look good, and I think they could be a lot better. Frankly.
Agreed.
All right, guys. Great job, Nick, as well. Tell everybody about this show. If your friends are out there and they're listening to the radio there in Tampa, tell them about this show. Jump on the podcast, Apple and Spotify, obviously. You can always subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook as well. We will be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. Scott Reynolds will be joining us, TJ Reeves. We will see you then.